Hey everyone, it's me, Arthur Kade, and now that I've proposed to Karina Smirnoff 4 different times during this interview, make sure to check out her new book, We're Just Not That Into You, in bookstores everywhere, and some exciting things ahead. Hey everyone, it's me, Arthur Kade, and Karina Smirnoff. Outside of being a fellow Russian, my mother would absolutely love you. She's always bring home a great Russian girl.
Hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom. She would love you. Dancer Russian, and I've had the biggest crush on you. It'd be perfect. You have some exciting stuff happening. First of all, you've got this new book out, We're Just Not That Into You, which means you've had a ton of bad dates. Maybe I shouldn't bring you home after all.
No,
What are your bad dates?
it's actually, this is one thing that I want to make clear, because I've had a couple of interviews where I guess people haven't really read the book, and they started thinking that this is a book about bashing or throwing people under the bus, and it's not. I don't name any names. It's not about, oh my gosh, guys are bad, because we have plenty of stories from the guys where girls are crazy out there.
Are.
I think you're looking at one. But yes, it's just sometimes things happen without, your fault or his fault or out of anyone's control, and they disastrous. And in the moment you think it's probably the end of the world, but then you wake up next day in the morning and you can't help but laugh at yourself.
I find it funny because being a guy, we're on the totally different side of the fence. And you're right, there's so many crazy women out there. It is so hard to date. I'm 36, good luck finding anyone to date. But to see it from a female perspective, which is what we see here, is so unique. Talk to me about, because you were married, then you become single, and getting back into the dating world. Talk to me, was it like a shock to the system? Was it fun? What goes through your head?
Well, I don't know why, I still am very hopeful. I believe love is out there. I believe there is that right person. And when people say right person, it doesn't necessarily mean that everything is going to be peachy-dory. I think you're always going to have...
Peachy-dory.
Yeah. It's a good word for this early in the morning.
I like it.
But you're going to have to work through things together. And when you work through things together, that's what makes you stronger. And you know what? Sometimes you have to kiss a lot of frogs. I think my best friend's mom always says that, Nancy, she says you have to go on dates as much as you can, because that statistically allows you better chances at meeting the right person.
Having been on television for so long, and obviously Dancing with the Stars, hugely popular show. We just had Tony in studio, who I love.
Love Tony.
We were joking around. And he's like, I always get the more mature contestants, and then he gets Suzanne Summers, who I love Suzanne, by the way. But having been on television, do people go in with a preconceived notion of who they believe you might be? And do you have to change that, or is that who you are? What goes into when they first meet you or go on a date with you?
Well, I think it comes with the territory. Whenever I meet someone that I've either watched in the movies or on TV in any capacity, I always get either excited or intimidated. There's always some sort of a reaction. But then you realize that everybody's just people. We all have the same issues. We all have the same, flaws to a degree. But when people meet me, a lot of people say that I'm very down to earth, which is true, and I kind of owe it to my parents. I've been raised in a strict household. I don't think there's any other way out of this.
Households.
Oh yeah,
People will never understand, unless you were Russian, what it's like to grow up Russian.
Right? It's a unique culture, and I think the history of our people, that has so much darkness and depth into it. That's why I personally laugh at myself all the time. I just did an interview on I think it was Good Day New York, and
Rosanna and Greg?
Yes, and Greg mentioned something that, that I'm only I'm only a couple of years younger than him, and I was like, couple of years? And it was all life. So I think he's not the biggest fan of me, but, hopefully I'll turn him around eventually.
Dancing with the Stars, when you were a long time part of that juggernaut,
yes.
But then leaving, was it tough to say goodbye to something that was such a big part of your life?
Very, very. It's I always say, it's you have the spray tan withdrawals, you have the rehearsal withdrawals, but I've been part of the show for the last 10 years.
The best part of what you just said, by the way, is the spray tan withdrawals. I'm like, who has withdrawals for spray tan?
I did. It's crazy. So 2 nights ago, I was looking at myself and I'm like, oh my God, I am so white. I have a shade of green and blue now in my my skin, which I haven't seen in the last 10 years because during the show we always get spray tan. So I went to the store and I got a bottle of like spray tan in the can. And I went into the bathroom and sprayed myself just to give me some color. I don't know, what do you think?
I think you look gorgeous. Like I said, I've had a long time crush on you. So when I knew you were coming, I was like, life is good. When you look at how that franchise, and again, I was talking to Tony about it, it frames and molds your life for the rest of your life. Because, you know, dancing is not, you're not in the NBA, you're not in the NFL, there's not 60,000 people in a stadium cheering for you. It's this cult-like career, but then this show comes along. What did it do for you? Like, did it just explode your whole life?
Absolutely. I think the ballroom world in the world arena is actually quite big, but it's very narrow-minded and it's very close. So we always have international competitions. We fill out Madison Square Gardens, Royal Albert Halls, because everybody from around the world would go. But again, you only know about the crazy world of ballroom dancing if you're in it. But because of shows like Dancing with the Stars and So You Think You Can Dance and Dance Your Butt Off, we had so many different shows, dancing became something that everybody knows. Like in the street, people come up to me like, oh my God, we love your rumba. And I'm like, I've never heard that before. Usually like, we love your dancing or something. But they actually know the difference between dances and they're now educated. And when they watch the show, they can make up their own mind what they're looking at.
I'm an ultra competitive person, and I would imagine, because you're an athlete essentially, would you go into each season and would you get assigned a specific partner? And obviously, you know in your mind, certain times you're going to be competitive and certain times you're not going to be competitive. Would you be like pissed off when it'd be like a partner where you knew you were going to be competitive?
I wouldn't necessarily go out celebrating if I knew I had a partner.
The politically correct way of answering it. I love it.
Yes, well, I probably would be spending a lot of time trying to figure out what would be the best angle, like what are his strengths, what are his weaknesses, what do we need to work on. But your partner is what makes you on the show or what breaks you off the show sometimes. So it's important. And I know, like you said, Tony said he usually gets the mature ones. I think to a degree, when you are good at something, it becomes one of your biggest blessings and one of your, I guess, curses. Because you get people that, you know, producers think you're going to be good with. And sometimes what they think is going to be good for you is very challenging to work with. So, but I can't complain. I've had amazing partners. I've had Ralph Macchio. I've had Steve Wozniak, maybe not the greatest dancer, but this guy changed our history. Exactly, our Apple computers, our navigation systems, he created all of that.
See, if I was in your position, I would be asking for free Apple goods at that point.
I did, but Woz told me I can only get 10% off.
That's why their stock is like a gajillion dollars. So you have this great book. What's next for you?
Well, I have a couple of projects that I'm in the work. Hopefully, a big announcement is going to come in a couple of weeks. It's still a TV project. I am keeping my fingers crossed and knocking on all the wood that I can find. One is right here, always good.
Again, Russian stuff.
I spit over my left shoulder.
For those who don't know, again, Russian superstitions. Do you do the ear pull, by the way? When you sneeze, does your mom make you do that?
No, well, my mom is Russian, my dad is Greek, so I kind of have...
So you have the worst of both worlds. Got it.
Exactly. So if I say something and my mom sneezes at that moment, she goes, oh, that means it's true?
Yep.
That means it's true? See, that's exactly what I've been telling you. And then my dad comes in with his aloe vera that cures everything. It's never a dull moment in my household. But, you know, the great news is that my parents, they are doctors, they are lawyers, they are insurance brokers. They know everything.
Hence why you're not a train wreck, which is great.
Yes, they know everything. If I ever have a question, I just call my parents.
So you have this TV project and anything else?
Well, there's always a lot of things going on. I have a dance studio in LA that I'm expanding and working on programs within the studio that actually go out into the city and the state. And other than that, there's possibility of another book in the works.
Good for you. You're gorgeous, awesome, and talented.
I might just stay here with Arthur. Is that okay?
I mean, I would cancel my whole day for that. Forget it. Sorry, anybody else we're interviewing today. We'll have to reschedule forever. Check out Karina's new book. We're just not that into you.